Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I used to believe peace was something you earned. After 38 years of marriage, 3 kids, I thought Kelly and I had earned ours. Our life moved like clockwork. Quiet mornings, evening walks, the same booth at the diner every Saturday. We didn't argue much anymore. We didn't need to. But habits can hide more than they reveal. It started small, little things I could have ignored. Her phone, once left on the counter, now stayed face down. She changed her perfume one day without a word. When I asked, she smiled and said, "Just felt like trying something new." Then she started taking long evening committee calls, walking out to the porch where I couldn't hear. One night, I caught her typing fast, her face lit by the screen. "Work emails," she said quickly, locking the phone before I could say another word. Maybe I should have pushed then. But after nearly 4 decades, you learn to pick your battles. And I told myself trust meant not checking up on her. A few weeks later, she mentioned a literacy conference in Raleigh. "It's just a week," she said, casually folding laundry. "Workshops, networking, all that boring stuff." "You sure you want to go right before summer break?" I asked. "They're covering travel," she replied, and Adrian helped me book the flight with his miles. I remember pausing at that name, Adrian Cole, our financial advisor. The man who'd been to our barbecues, who once toasted our anniversary. But I brushed it off. The morning she left, I carried her suitcase to the car. She wore a navy suit and heels, more formal than usual. "Be good while I'm gone," she said, kissing my cheek. I watched her drive away. The house was too still when I stepped back inside. 3 days after Kelly left for her conference, the house started to feel wrong. The air was still, heavy, like it knew something I didn't. She hadn't called the first night, just sent a short text. "Long day, heading to bed early." By the third day, even that stopped. That evening, while I was fixing the porch light, my phone buzzed. It was Isaac, a coworker and friend, who was in Las Vegas for a construction expo. He sent a picture with no message, just a photo and a question mark. I opened it. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. A rooftop bar, city lights stretching behind a couple, a woman in a red dress, laughing, head tilted toward a man beside her. It took me 2 seconds to recognize her. Kelly, and the man? Adrian Cole. Same slick smile. Same tan suit I'd seen him wear at our anniversary dinner last spring. Her hand rested lightly on his shoulder, his on her waist. I zoomed in. Her wedding ring caught the light. My stomach dropped, but my face didn't move. I just stared. A minute, maybe 2. Then I saved the photo and locked my phone. I called Isaac. "Where was this taken?" "Roof Garden Lounge, MGM Grand," he said. "Saw her across the room. Thought maybe I was seeing things." "You weren't," I said quietly. "Thanks." When the call ended, I sat on the porch steps. There'd been no conference in Raleigh, no reason to pack that navy suit. And Adrian, the man who managed our retirement, who'd eaten dinner at my table, he was in Vegas with my wife. I didn't tell anyone, didn't call her, didn't rage. Instead, I opened my calendar and checked her flight details. Nothing matched. No charges from a hotel in Raleigh. Her location sharing had been turned off that morning. For the first time in 38 years, I realized I didn't really know where my wife was, or who she'd become. That night, I sat in the dark living room and made myself a quiet promise. No scenes, no shouting, just truth, delivered cold. The next morning I had a plan. Instead of confronting Kelly without proof, I'd find the truth first, every detail, every lie. Anger can cloud judgment, and I wasn't going to hand her that power. I called Aaron Blake, an old friend and attorney I trusted. "Jason," he said after listening to my story, "don't confront her yet. You need evidence, clean and legal." He gave me the name of a private investigator, Nora Whitaker. "She's quiet, efficient, no drama." Aaron added, "Let her handle it." I called her that evening. Nora's voice was calm, businesslike. "If she's hiding something," she said, "we'll find it. I'll need access to phone records, bank statements, and her travel itinerary." "Done," I said. "You'll have them tomorrow." That night, I thought about how long she'd been planning it. The fake conference, the new perfume, Adrian's name casually dropped into conversation. I wasn't surprised anymore. I was focused. 2 days later, Kelly had returned. She was cheerful, tan. "How was it?" I asked, hanging her coat. Busy, she said, smiling too easily. Workshops, meetings, you know how it goes. Sure, I said. Did you learn much? She laughed. Mostly that teachers need more coffee than funding. Her tone was light, but her eyes darted away for half a second. I noticed. That night, when she went to bed, I opened the home Wi-Fi logs and copied the backups for Nora. No shouting, no guilt, just quiet precision. The next phase had begun. A week later, Nora called. Her tone was flat, professional, the kind of voice that always carries bad news. Jason, I've finished the first report, she said. You should see this yourself. I met her at a coffee shop downtown. She slid a folder across the table. No dramatics, just facts. Inside were hotel records, flight confirmations, and transaction lists. It was all there. Dates, room numbers, dinner bills. She'd flown to Las Vegas and shared a room with Adrian Cole. Every night she claimed she was attending meetings. She was dining with him instead. The timestamps matched perfectly. Nora pointed to the documents. This wasn't a one-time trip, she said quietly. I traced communication back 14 months. Regular calls, private emails, payments disguised as work expenses. I didn't speak for a while. Finally, I asked, do I have everything I need? You do, she said. The rest depends on what kind of ending you want. On the drive home, I didn't feel anger. When I walked into the house, Kelly was at the kitchen counter unpacking groceries. You look tired, she said, brushing her hair back. Just work, I replied. You? She smiled faintly, trying to get back into a routine. I nodded, watching her set down a bag of oranges, familiar gestures from a stranger. That night, after she went to bed, I printed every file Nora had given me. I placed them neatly in a brown envelope and set it inside my desk drawer. The next day, I called Aaron Blake. It's time, I told him. He understood without asking for details. Then we'll do this right, he said. No mess, no shouting, just facts. I hung up, opened the envelope once more, and stared at the evidence, a story told through receipts, timestamps, and lies. And for the first time since that photo, I smiled, because I finally had the truth. Christmas Eve arrived wrapped in polite chaos. Our children Faria and Luke were home, filling the house with noise, laughter. Kelly moved through the kitchen like nothing was wrong, setting the table, asking Luke about work. If I hadn't known, I might have believed her. But I did know, and the proof was waiting in my study. After dinner, when the kids were watching a movie, I called out, Kelly, can you give me a hand with something in the den? She followed me in, drying her hands on a towel. What's up? I handed her the envelope. She looked surprised. Another gift? She asked, smiling. Open it, I said. She tore the paper slowly. The color drained from her face as she pulled out the photos, hotel receipts, and the image from Vegas. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Tell me, I said quietly. Was Raleigh too crowded, or did Vegas just have better lights? Her eyes filled. Jason, I can explain. Then do it. It was a mistake, she stammered. It happened once. I didn't mean... I cut her off. Once? There are 14 months' worth of records in that envelope, Kelly. You didn't trip and fall into an affair. You lived in it. Tears streaked her cheeks. Please, not in front of the kids. They already know something's wrong, I said evenly. You've been acting like a guest in your own home. She sat down, shaking. I never wanted to hurt you. Adrian made me feel seen. I thought it was harmless at first. I leaned forward, voice low. You thought betraying me was harmless? She covered her face and sobbed. I didn't move to comfort her. When she finally looked up, I said, Tomorrow morning you'll pack a bag. You can stay at the Riverbend apartment until we sort things out. Aaron will call you after the holidays. Jason, please, she whispered. No scenes, I said quietly. Not in front of them. Then I left her there, surrounded by every lie she'd told. Kelly left the next morning without saying much. She packed a single suitcase and stood by the door, pale and quiet. I watched from the porch, hands in my pockets. Kelly looked back once before driving away. That was the moment I knew we'd crossed a line that couldn't be undone. Over the next few weeks, she unraveled. Faria called me often, worried. Dad, she's not eating. She just sits there, she said one evening, her voice small. She needs time, I told her, but don't let her isolate herself. Kelly stopped showing up to work after New Year's. The school called. I told them she was dealing with a medical issue. That wasn't a lie. Grief is an illness in its own way. I met with Aaron Blake 2 days later. We filed for divorce. The process was quiet, clean, and deliberate. No lawyers shouting, no arguments over furniture. I wanted peace, not punishment. She'll get the Riverbend property and her car, I told Aaron. I'll keep the house and the accounts. He nodded. Fair. You've been patient enough. Meanwhile, Nora's report went to the State Financial Board. Adrian Cole was suspended for professional misconduct within a month. I didn't celebrate, but I slept better knowing truth had weight. Kelly tried to reach me a few times, calls, short messages. I answered once. Jason, she said, her voice trembling. I'm sorry. I think about you every day. I know, I replied. But sorry doesn't rebuild what you broke. There was silence on the line. Then a soft, I deserve that. After that, she stopped calling. When the divorce was finalized in early spring, the judge read the terms without emotion. Mr. and Mrs. Merrick are legally divorced as of this date. Those words landed harder than I expected. 38 years, reduced to a file stamped and sealed. Outside the courthouse, Aaron shook my hand. You did this right, Jason. Most men would have burned everything down. Maybe, I said, but fire doesn't build peace. That night, I went home to an empty house and poured myself a single drink. It was quiet again, but this time, it wasn't peace. It was aftermath. The months after the divorce passed like slow rain, steady, quiet, and heavy. I kept my routine simple: work, gym, church, home. No detours, no late nights. The house stayed clean, almost too clean, like it was waiting for something that would never return. Kelly lived in the Riverbend apartment. Varia visited her twice a week, bringing food and trying to keep her grounded. She's better some days, Varia told me once over dinner. Then others, she just stares out the window like she's waiting for a life that's gone. She'll have to build a new one, I said. Same as I did. Kelly sent 2 letters that spring, both handwritten. The first one said, I can't forgive myself, Jason. Every night I replay what I did. Adrian made me feel noticed, but it wasn't love. It was an escape. I'm sorry I used our marriage as the price for my confusion. The second came 2 weeks later. I still dream about our house, the sound of you making coffee, the way you'd hum before reading the paper. I wish I could go back, but I know I don't belong there anymore. I didn't respond to either. Not out of anger, just because there was nothing left to say. Some apologies come too late to fix anything. Adrian Cole vanished quietly. His firm reassigned his clients, and his office door stayed locked for months before a new name went up. Word was he'd moved to Florida. I didn't care where he went. He'd already lost what mattered most to him, his reputation. I went fishing again, started meeting Luke for breakfast on Saturdays, even fixed up the old cabin. Peace didn't return in a wave. It came in small pieces. And this time, I wasn't going to lose it to anyone else's lies. Nearly a year later, the divorce papers were just a memory filed away in my desk drawer. The days had found their rhythm again. I'd learned to live alone without feeling lonely. One quiet afternoon, I got a message from Kelly. Can we meet? Just once. I agreed. We met at a cafe near the marina, neutral ground. She looked older, thinner, her hair streaked with gray. There was no perfume this time, no polished smile, just a woman worn down by truth. Thanks for coming, she said softly. I nodded. How are you holding up? She gave a small laugh. Some days are fine, some aren't. I see a therapist now. I'm trying. I believed her. The bitterness in her voice was gone. What was left was guilt and quiet acceptance. She slid a small envelope across the table. These are the last papers Aaron said we needed to sign, she said, and something else. Inside was a photograph, the 2 of us on our 25th anniversary, standing on the pier behind our old house. She'd written on the back, "Thank you for the years I didn't deserve and the patience I never earned." I looked at it for a moment, then folded it carefully. Kelly, I said, I don't hate you. I stopped a long time ago, but I can't carry what you did. I'm done bleeding for it. She nodded, eyes wet. I understand. We sat there in silence for a while. Then I stood up. Take care of yourself. You too, Jason, she said. That was the last time we spoke. Later that evening, I drove back to the house, poured a cup of coffee, and stepped onto the porch. For years, I'd thought peace was something you earned through loyalty and patience. But now I understood. Peace isn't earned, it's reclaimed. It's what's left when the noise fades, the lies settle, and the truth finally stops hurting. For the first time in a long while, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt free. Thank you for watching.